Notre Dame will not have Riley Leonard starting at quarterback for them next season. So that begs the question, who's it going to be? There is 3 names to keep a pulse on. C.J. Carr, Steve Angeli, known as Steve Peanut Butter Angeli around the studio, and Kenny Minchey. We'll break this down, give you our prediction. Before we do that, though, make sure you are subscribed to the On The Way YouTube channel. If you're watching right now in the full hour-long episode, hey, thank you. You're a real one. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you haven't yet subscribed, no time like the present. Love to have you a part of this. We will be breaking down all things spring game while they exist for Notre Dame. We'll be breaking down all things college football as long as our key card keeps working to get into the studio. So, as I was saying, those are the 3 names to keep a pulse on. In terms of how the offense is going to look, I really do think that it's going to be a lot more of a vertical offense, like a lot more of what Mike Denbrock, I think, wanted to do at LSU with Jaden Daniels. Obviously, you don't have Jaden Daniels playing quarterback for you next year in South Bend, but you do have some weapons in a Jaden Greathouse, in a Jordan Faison, and I got to thinking as the confetti dropped in Atlanta and we're out there on the field post-game kind of watching it all happen and Notre Dame came up short, Jaden Greathouse just went for 100 yards for the second game in a row against arguably the best defense that Ohio State has played to that point in the year with Penn State and Ohio State. He's back. Jordan Faison, what he did against Indiana, I can't help but thinking, I'm like, man, I don't know that they maybe have better weapons than we all were even aware of. And you dance with the one that brung you. Like Riley Leonard designed quarterback run on 3rd and short is as good as gold, so I don't fault them for that. But I wonder a little bit with a different caliber passer at quarterback, does Notre Dame have a little bit more explosivity to them? I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just saying that thought crossed my mind. Now, in terms of the battle, I think that Kenny Minchey is probably the most forgotten in this whole battle. And some of that is a lower profile recruitment and how much juice has been around C.J. Carr and all that. Like, I don't know if he wins the job. He's probably not the guy I'd pick right now. I think he needs a role. Good athlete, if y'all don't know who he is. He's a guy that can hurt you in the quarterback design run game. I would keep that in the bag. I truly would. I don't know that he's the starter, but I think that you would be crazy seeing what Riley Leonard did last year to defenses and having to account for that every single week. Not saying Kenny Minchey's Riley Leonard, but I would at least carry that week in and week out when it comes to a game plan for Mike Denbrock and the Irish. So I think he needs a role. I don't think he's the starter. So if that's the case, Steve Angeli, savvy veteran, versus the young buck, C.J. Carr. Should be noted, C.J. Carr still getting the wing right, okay? So he's hasn't been throwing all that much throughout the season, but it's a tricky one to break down because there's not really a ton to go off of with C.J. Carr. There's some to go off of with Steve Angeli. Obviously the drive against Penn State we'll talk about started, I believe, the Sun Bowl a season ago when Sam Hartman did not play in the bowl game, and Steve Angeli looked good doing that. But I do think, to give us some context here, I think it's going to be a true battle. I don't think anybody is like secretly being handed the keys and we just don't know about it. I think it's a true battle. I think it'll go into the fall. I've asked a lot of people close to Notre Dame who they believe will be the starter, and the experts on this are split. If that gives y'all any other confidence on this not being just a C.J. Carr's job and we're just going through the motions, I don't think it's that. I think that genuinely either guy could win the job. I'll also say, when you talk about who's making the decision for you, Mike Denbrock picking his quarterback, dude knows quarterbacks. Okay, so if he's making my call here, as an Irish fan, if it's C.J. Carr and Mike Denbrock says that's the best way to go, I have a pretty good amount of confidence that that's the best move for our football team. Same deal if it's Steve Angeli. Now, C.J. Carr is the most exciting of this group. I think he's probably the future of Notre Dame football. I think with the four-star prospect that he was and all that, it's easy to get excited about that. And if he wins the job, like I just said, so be it. If I'm trying to predict the winner, though, of this battle, which we are on this show, I think it's Steve Angeli. And the reason why I say that is you can't account for live bullets. We say it a lot. You can't account for 11 on 11, lights are bright, no non-contact jersey on you. How are you going to perform? And when we talk about Notre Dame in 2025, they're not going to be this like trendy dark horse pick for anybody. Just played for a national title. The standard at Notre Dame is no longer can they compete for a natty, it's can they go win a natty. And give Marcus Freeman all the credit in the world that is now a discussion that the Irish are in, because that wasn't always the case. And so as I say that, I think the mental fortitude and just the overall just cool hand is going to be crucial for whoever ends up being the guy at Notre Dame. This is not me telling you that's not C.J. Carr. This is me telling you that I watched Steve Angeli in the biggest game of Notre Dame season to that point, being down about 2 scores against one of the best defenses in college football. Cool hand, driving down the field, get a field goal before half, all good. If Steve Angeli wasn't built like that, y'all, we would have found out in that moment. We would have found out if Steve Angeli wasn't cut from a different cloth in that drive, okay? Because that was as pressure-packed as it comes. And I know that it wasn't the perfect drive, but it was good enough to get 3 points. And so, again, without a ton of context from a on-the-field prospects for a C.J. Carr, and with what I think Kenny Minchey's role will be in 2025, I'm going to just call my shot. I think it's Steve Angeli. If it's not, we'll, of course, revisit it, and we'll talk through the offense regardless of whoever's going to be the guy pulling the trigger for them in the fall. But the cool hand, the experience, that drive, man, I think you need that at Notre Dame, and I think Steve Angeli has that, and that's a big reason why I think he's your guy in 2025.